Hello, everybody, and welcome. Now, there was a bit of a mix-up for some reason with the time, and even though I'd set it for 1 p.m. BST, I noticed shortly before going live that it was actually showing on LinkedIn as 2 p.m. So I hope that that hasn't affected anybody attending. Apologies if it has. I'm not sure what happened there. On all the other platforms, it was showing as 1 p.m., but for some reason it was showing as 2 p.m. on LinkedIn. But if you did miss the live, hopefully you will catch it on the replay. So if you are joining from, well, let me know where you're joining from today, what part of the world you are joining me from. I can't yet see if anybody is online, so I'm going to be relying on you to let me know that you are there. So yes, just let me know where you're joining from today. And there's a saying that goes, if you don't ask, you don't get. And in my work as an executive career and leadership coach, I regularly come across leaders who don't ask for what they want. They fail to negotiate when it comes to pay rises or promotions or other opportunities. And as a result of this, they sell themselves short. And if this is you, that you are not asking for what you want, you are not negotiating and asking for what you deserve, then hopefully what I will share with you will help you to confidently negotiate and ask for what you want and not sell yourself short. So hello, Kate from Dorset. Great to have you here. And so what we're going to be looking at is how you can master negotiation so that you confidently ask for what you want. Hello, Michelle from Windsor. And great to have you here. And so what I'm going to be covering is I'm going to be looking at some of the common barriers to negotiation and how you can overcome them. And I'm going to be sharing some actionable techniques and strategies that you can apply when you are negotiating, and how you can leverage your unique strengths and communicate your needs and preferences in ways that feel authentic. So those what are typically known as introverted strengths, how you can leverage those when you're negotiating. So looking at some of the common barriers, and the common barriers that I've come across are a fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, and that thinking that you're going to get found out, that you're not really good enough, and being perceived as aggressive. Sometimes there is some people think that if they come across as confident and ask for what they want, that can come across as aggressive. And so if you're experiencing any of these barriers, I mean, there are other barriers that you may have, but these are the common ones that I come across with the introverted leaders that I coach. And so that fear of rejection, that fear that you're going to get told no, which is rooted in a fear of rejection. We all want to belong. We don't like to be rejected because that can make us feel insecure, make us feel that we're not good enough. Hello from Brazil. Great to have you here. But the thing is, you do not need to have approval from anybody but yourself. And once you can address those internalized beliefs that you may have about yourself, challenge them and change them to something more helpful. So what is happening as a result of you not asking for what you want? Are you not getting the pay that you deserve? Are you not getting the promotions that you deserve? So look at what your beliefs are about negotiating and asking for what it is that you want, and address those internalized beliefs. Because if you are fearing rejection, or you're experiencing imposter syndrome, or you think that you're going to come across as aggressive, holding on to those beliefs are not helping you. So it's important that you remind yourself of your worth, remind yourself of the value that you add. And the thing is, if you're worrying about coming across as aggressive or overly confident, the chances are that you are not. If you're worrying about it, chances are that you are not, because people who come across as overly confident or overconfident, should I say, or aggressive, tend to not be aware that they are. So if you're worrying about it, chances are that you are not. And so when it comes to addressing those beliefs, I've shared many lives and articles on how you can do those. So do go and have a look through the content that I share here on LinkedIn about how you can address those self-limiting beliefs that are holding you back. And ask yourself as well, what is the worst that could happen? If you ask for what it is that you want, if you let people know that this is what you want, what is the worst that could happen? And if that was to happen, what could you do? So when it comes to actionable techniques and strategies, so do your research, whatever it is that you are asking for, whether it's the pay rise, whether you are going for a new role and you need to negotiate your compensation package, do your research and ask other people who maybe have gone through what you're going through or in similar roles to what you are applying for or positioning yourself for. And also use websites that give information, such as Glassdoor or other sites that give information about comparable roles and what sort of salaries can be expected for particular roles. Because once you have that information, you can then sort of identify, well, is what you are asking for, is that reasonable? What is the going rate for what you are asking for? So what research can you do to help you prepare yourself for the negotiations and for having that conversation? And then gather your evidence. So thinking about your achievements, your success record, your success to date, gather your evidence that demonstrates that you deserve what it is that you are asking for. And one of the things that I often recommend is that people keep a success folder, because it's quite easy to forget about your achievements. So, you know, it comes to the end of year appraisal and you want to ask for a pay rise, but you can't remember what you've done like the beginning of last year or 6 months ago. So keeping a folder as you go along of your successes and achievements means that when the time comes for it, whether it's a job you're applying for, promotion, or asking for a pay rise, you've got a handy record of what you've done over the year or over the years. And so gather your evidence, and if you can, quantify the differences that you've made. So whether it is that you've saved money, whether it is that you've increased productivity or improved productivity, if you're able to quantify it, then that's even better for when you are putting forward your case. And be clear about what it is that you want. So what is your goals for this negotiation? What is it that you are wanting from it? And identify what that target is, and what that looks like, whether that is money, whether that is other benefits. Be clear about what it is that your target is that you want. And then also think about what is the minimum that you will accept. So know what it is that you want in terms of, this is the ideal, this is what I want. But then also think about, well, if that's not possible, then this is the minimum that I will accept, so that you're clear about what you will accept and what you won't accept when you go into the negotiation or when you go to have the conversation. And in addition to that, thinking about what your target is and what is the minimum that you will accept, think about your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And this is known as a BATNA, BATNA. When it comes to negotiation, you may have heard of people talking about a BATNA. Well, this is what it is: a best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And this is, to sum this up, this is your backup plan. So if the negotiations fail and what you're asking for, it's not going to be entertained, what will your backup plan be if negotiations fail? So some people think that by threatening to leave, that is going to be what they will do. But think about, you know, if you're threatening to leave, that is something that you don't want to just use willy-nilly if you are not serious about it. I know people that have threatened to leave and it has worked for them. I also know people that have threatened to leave and it's backfired. So thinking about what your best alternative is to a negotiated agreement, what your backup plan is if negotiations fail. And by knowing what your backup plan is, or your BATNA, that can help you to go into the negotiations more confidently, because you will go in there knowing that if this fails, I have a backup plan, and you won't be pressured, or you won't feel so pressured into accepting a bad deal. Now, if you know that if what you're asking for is not going to be entertained, even the minimum that you're asking for is not going to be entertained, this is my backup plan if all else fails, then you can go in there more confident to ask for what you want, because you know that if what is being offered is worse than your BATNA, it's okay to walk away because you have a plan. You know what you will do. If all else fails, you can walk away confident that you have a plan B. The other thing, when you're thinking about sort of planning the negotiation conversation, is anticipating objections. So what are the objections that people may have to what you are asking for? And if you can anticipate what those objections are, and think about how you can counteract that. So if it's the case of you're asking for a pay rise and you're being told, well, there's no money in the budget for this, then if you anticipate that objection, then you can address that. So you can maybe do a bit of research around what the budget is and how much money you may have saved the company or saved the team or saved the department, so that you can address that. So it could be the case that when you bring it up, you could say, I can understand that you may feel that there isn't the budget there. However, over the past 6 months or a year or whatever, I have actually saved the company X amount of pounds, dollars, or whatever currency you use. So think about how you can anticipate objections and how you can address them before they are raised, because then that puts you in a better bargaining position to ask for what you want and to get it. And so when it comes to the conversation and having that conversation, or literally before you have the conversation, you've done all your planning, you've done your preparation, you've done your research, and you've identified what is the going rate is, or what it can be expected for what it is that you are asking for, what other people are doing, or what other organizations are offering. You've gathered your evidence, and so you're prepared to go into the conversation. So visualize how you want the conversation to go and how you want what the outcome is that you want, because that will enable you to go into that conversation. If you're clear about what it is that you want to get from the conversation or the negotiation, it will enable you to stay on track if you're clear about what it is that you want, what outcome it is that you want. So if you find that you are being taken off track, it is then easier for you to bring the conversation back round to what you want. If you're feeling nervous and anxious about having the conversation, then practice some breathing exercises, and so that you can calm your breath, because what's happening is, as you're worrying about it, you become more anxious, and become more anxious, then you'll start to stress about it. You will not think so clearly. It will start to affect your confidence. So remain calm. Practice breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, and just repeating that a few times before you go into the conversation, so that you feel calm and that you feel that you're in control. And if you find your mind racing ahead, worrying about or they might say this, or they might not agree to what I'm saying. You've got countless thoughts going through your head. Just bring your mind back to the moment and to the present, because when you're worrying about it, that is going to make you feel anxious. And when you feel anxious, you're not necessarily going to think clearly, or it's going to affect how you perform in that conversation, or it's going to make you feel so anxious that you don't actually ask for what it is that you want. And if you find that you're worrying whilst you're about to have the conversation, or even in the middle of the conversation, acknowledge whatever is going on in your mind, and just tell yourself, I haven't got time to worry about this right now. Right now, I'm just getting through this conversation, and I will worry about it later on in the evening. And by parking the thought in that way, it helps you to bring your mind back to the present and can help you to feel calm and more confident about having the conversation. And be assertive when you are speaking. Don't use apologetic language. So don't apologize for asking for what you want, or don't say, oh, I'm sorry, but. Don't use apologetic language. Be assertive. So it's about holding your own, exuding your presence, and letting them know that this is what you are asking for. And those of you who have attended my lives before have heard me talk about assertiveness. In fact, the last one I did was about assertiveness. And I talk about psychologist Randy Paterson, who likens it to assertiveness to being on a stage. And I'll repeat that again today because I recognize that some of you are on this one that weren't on the previous one. And so when he talks about assertiveness like being like a stage, he talks about people who are passive being in the audience and letting everybody else onto the stage but themselves, people who are aggressive, who are on the stage and they want the stage for themselves and they're pushing everybody else off. Whereas people who are assertive recognize that there is room for everybody on the stage, and everybody else is on the stage as well. So go into the conversation being assertive, and as a sense check, just ask yourself, am I on the stage? And recognizing that everybody has a place on the stage. Am I in the audience watching everybody else get on the stage apart from me? Or am I on the stage pushing everybody off? And that will help you just to shift your thinking to one where you can be more assertive. So, as I said, don't use apologetic language. And so when it comes to if you're faced with those objections, or people are sort of arguing you down, or they're interrupting your conversation, just be assertive, remain calm, be assertive. And as I said, if you've anticipated what their objections are in advance, you can bring those up in the conversation before they are raised. So that way you've all actually covered their objections before they actually raise them. And so when it comes to leveraging your unique strengths and communicating your needs in ways that feel authentic, there are many strengths which are typically asserted with introversion, which are very good when it comes to negotiating. So introverted people are known as being good listeners. And one of the things, good skills to use in negotiating is active listening, because this enables you to understand the other party's position. And by listening, not just when you're having the conversation, but in advance of the negotiation conversation, listening to enables you to fully understand what the other party's position is. You can use that to gather information. You can use it to identify common ground, because that's important when you're building a rapport. And when you are having the conversation, by active listening, you can then reflect back what you've heard to show your understanding and help to build rapport, because that as well is important when you're having a negotiating conversation. thoughtful preparation. As introverts, we're known for processing information, thinking and processing information before we speak, before we act. So utilize that when you're doing your research and analyzing the research that you do, when it's about asking for what it is that you want, and being able to demonstrate why it is important and why you deserve it. Empathy and understanding, as introverts are known as being empathetic. So utilize that, use that to identify what the needs and motivations are of whoever it is that you are having the conversation with, or who you are negotiating with, and use that to tailor your responses and your proposal so that it's more persuasive in terms of what you are asking for. Another strength that you can use is introverts are known as being calm and composed. So you can use that to project confidence and stability, because that can be reassuring to the person that you are having the conversation with. So that just about sums up what I'm going to cover, and I will open up the questions if anyone's got any questions. So just to wrap up, I've talked about the common barriers to negotiation and how to overcome them. So fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, coming across as aggressive. So work on those internalized beliefs, those self-limiting beliefs, challenging them and changing them to something which is more helpful, and putting things into perspective, and asking yourself, well, what is the worst that could happen? And if that was to happen, what could you do? I've shared a number of techniques and strategies that you can use both in the preparation of your negotiations as well as during the conversation. And I've shared how you can leverage your unique strengths so that you can help you to communicate your needs and preferences in ways that feel authentic. So hopefully now that will help you to be a bit more clear about how you can negotiate and confidently ask for what you want. And for those of you who are subscribed to my Quietly Visible newsletter, you'll be aware that I'm holding a conference for introverted leaders in London on the 13th of September. I know many of you have already booked onto it. And if you haven't booked on yet, I'm offering a 10% discount if you use the code LUNCHLEARN at introvertedleadersconference.eventbrite.com. And I will put the link and the code for the discount in the comments and also add it to the description of this event. So before I sign off, anybody got any questions? What are you going to do differently going forward when it comes to negotiating and asking for what you want? And please let me know. And any questions, then please do ask. Any questions? Let's have a look in the chat, in the comments. I know sometimes there is a delay between questions coming through, comments coming through. So I will go back after and go through the comments if anybody asks anything after I've gone. How to show myself more during meetings. Okay, thanks for that. So one of the things for people who are introverted, when it comes to meetings, a lot of times it's about being put on the spot and not necessarily having the time to think and speak and processing information before speaking. So what I would suggest is do a lot of the preparation beforehand, go through the agendas beforehand in the meetings, and so you can give yourself time to think about what it is that you want to say and those topics that you want to speak upon. And that way, when it comes to the meeting, you've done a lot of that thinking beforehand. So if you do get put up on the spot, then you've had chance to think about things in advance. And also, if you get put on the spot and you need a bit more time to process information, just offer your initial thoughts and let people know that if you've got anything further to add, that you'll get back to them. And you may want to make it a goal that when you go into meetings, that set yourself some goals around the meetings. I'm going to speak upon this topic, that topic, identify those topics that you are going to speak upon. And sometimes getting in there first or as early as possible in terms of speaking can help you, rather than waiting until the end before you speak. Getting in there first can help mean that you get it over and done with, and that can help you to feel more confident as well. I hope that's helped. Let's see, any other questions? I worry most about what I want to ask for being undeserved. Is this imposter syndrome or selling myself short? So yes, if you're thinking about that you don't deserve it, then what I would suggest is just to challenge that belief. We're very much led by our emotions, and the way that we think affects how we feel, and we act and behave according to how we're feeling, and that's as a result of what we think and believe about ourselves. So if you're thinking and believing that you are undeserved, then that's going to affect how you feel, which will affect your confidence. So what I would suggest is that you look at the value that you bring, that you look back over all the things that you've done in your achievements, and just remind yourself of the value that you've added and the difference that you are making. Because when you're worrying about selling yourself short, or that you're not good enough, or that you're not deserved of it, you can forget about all those things that you have done and the difference that you have made and the value that you've added. And that is why I recommend keeping the success folder, so that you've got an easy access. It can be a digital format, it could be that you print off things and keep a physical folder, but you've got a reminder of the things that you've done throughout the year, the achievements that you've done. And another thing as well to that selling yourself short is reminding yourself of why you are in the position that you are in, and how you got there because of what you are, what you've achieved, and what you've done. I hope that helps. If you want to know anything more about this, or you want further support, then do send me a message. Right, any other questions? Right, if there's no more questions, then I will sign off, and I would love to see you at the Introverted Leaders Conference in September. It's the very first conference for introverted leaders. We've got a great lineup of speakers, so do come along. Go to introvertedleadersconference.eventbrite.com and use the code lunch learn, capital letters, to get your discount. So I'll put the link in actually in the chat, in the comments. Introverted Leaders Conference.eventbrite.com. And the code is lunch learn. Let me just make sure I've got the link right. Introverted Leaders Conference.eventbrite.co.uk. Sorry. Right, so that's the link. Right, I'm glad you found it helpful. So thank you everyone for coming online. Just checking if there's anything. Yes, I will let you know when the next session is. It will probably be a little bit earlier next month, but I will let you know. I will send out through all the usual ways, through LinkedIn, through my newsletters. So I will keep you informed. It's likely to be the 12th of June, the next one. So thank you and goodbye.